Of course, I was born May 15, 1931, and my mom and dad was Brian and Anna Mae Crosier. At the time, they lived on a ranch, a cattle ranch, out in West Texas, about 10 miles from Canadian. And I had a sister that was born 3 years earlier than me, so, but I was born there at the ranch, and then after about 2 or 3 years, we moved from the ranch to a house on my grandparents' farm. They had an extra house there that we lived in that house. So, and that's where my sister, just younger than I, was born. And so by that time there was three of us children. And while we lived in that house, and when my sister was born there, my dad, he drove a school bus at that time, and during the winter time, it was really cold out there. But back then, I guess there wasn't batteries on cars. They cranked the car with a crank out the front of the engine. Well, in the wintertime, the oil in the engine would get really stiff. So driving that school bus, when he'd come in the evening, well, he would drain the oil out of the bus, and then the next morning he would heat the oil up on the cook stove and put it back in the engine. Well, this one morning he caught the house on fire. Anyway, my mother was still in bed from giving birth to my younger sister, and so my dad was trying to get us all out of the house and put the fire out and everything, and my sister, just older than me, and by that time she was probably 6. Well, it was really cold, and she didn't want to get out of bed. Well, we had one of those old 4-poster beds, and she just hung onto that bed, and she didn't want to get out of bed at all. So anyway, my dad got the fire out, and so we were all safe then. And then my next memory was my grandparents. They both passed away the same year, about 3 months apart, and I don't remember which one went first, but I was at that time I was 4 years old, and so when which one it was that had passed away, and back in those days they brought the body and the casket and all to the house, and the kind of laid in state there till time for the funeral. And so after watching my dad work on tires and stuff, I knew what that little valve stem was, I could let the air out of tires. And so they were all in the house and all, and I guess I was messing around outside there. And so I let the air out of some of those tires, those people who come to the house that was going to go to the funeral. Well, when it came time to go at the funeral, of course, they went out there and they had a bunch of flats, and I got in serious trouble on that one. And but I survived it. Anyway, when we lived on the farm, in our first little house that we lived there. Well, my dad, he planted a bunch of turnips, and I guess we like turnips. I don't know, but the cows would eat those turnip leaves, and the milk tastes like turnips. And anyway, and also we harvested the turnips, and my dad said, well, we can dig this hole in the ground and put hay all in it, and then put those turnips in there, and then they'll keep for a long time. So we did that. Well, then winter come along, and we were ready for some turnips, and so we went out to the field to get the turnips, and we couldn't find them. So we lost that. We lost the turnips that year. When I was probably about the same time, about the same year, we lived, way out in the country, and so I guess when I would get hot, I'd just strip off and go around in the nude, And anyway, this one day it was in the summer, and I got mad about something. I don't even remember what, but I decided to run away from home. I was 4, and so my mom and dad they watched me leave, and I got it probably 50 yards from the house. My dad come out and asked me where I was going, and we had a neighbor, probably lived half a mile away from us, and his name was Bill Sappington, and we had I had been with my dad when they went over visiting old Bill Sappington, and so I said, well, I'm going over to Bill Sappington's house. And Daddy said, well, you better come back and take a lunch, it's going to be a long walk over there. Well, I come back to the house, and I guess I got over being mad because I never did go to Bill Sappington's house. And but then from then I don't remember much then until I was probably maybe 9, 10 years old, something like that. And at that time I was kind of sickly, and I got nosebleeds real bad. And usually they would stop, right away, but this time it didn't. And so my mom and dad, they loaded us all up in our Model A Ford, and we headed to Canadian to the doctor. Well, on the way up there to Canadian, my mom and dad, they decided that we would go to this other lady, and she was a church lady. We went to church all the time, and she was kind of known for her healing. She could, kind of had the reputation of healing people. So we went there, and so first thing she did, she had some cotton, and she kind of stuffed up my nose, and then she had a pair of scissors, and these scissors, I don't know where she kept them, but man, they were cold. And so she tied a string on those scissors and put it down my back, my shirt. And and then she prayed for me, you know. So I don't know what cured me, but but I got over it, and I don't know if it was the scissors or the cotton balls or the prayer, but I survived that. And but backing up just a little bit, my school years, we had a little. I went to a little one room schoolhouse in the country, and I think it went from first grade through sixth grade. Well, and totally we had probably 12, 13 kids, you know. And in the schoolhouse we had a big old coal burning stove, you know, is a big thing. And when we'd need to put coal in, well, we had a big old coal bucket there. So it was the boys' job to go out and get the coal when we needed to get it. Well, so the teacher, she sent me and another boy out to get a bucket of coal to come in, to bring in. And she had the outside window cracked a little bit, you know, I guess for ventilation or something. But coming back in with the coal bucket, we passed that window, and about when we passed that window, I said, "I hate Miss Jackson," you know. We got in the schoolhouse. Well, first thing, she says, "Raymond, you come up to the front." And I went up front, and I didn't know what was going to happen, you know, but I went up front, and she said, now tell everybody how you hate me, you know. And that hurt worse than a spanking, you know. But anyway, that was kind of a traumatic thing for me. And then we would walk to school, you know. It was like a quarter of a mile. And I think it seemed like it was on Fridays. Well, we didn't have to come straight home. We could play around a little bit coming home. Well, this road that went in front of the school, well, just real close by was a little creek and a bridge over that little creek. So we were all playing around that little bridge there, and I was up on top of the bridge, and it was probably, wouldn't have been very tall, you know, maybe 6 or 8 feet down. And so there wasn't any water in the creek or anything, but anyway, there was a cardboard box down there, and so I decided, well, I'm going to jump on that box, you know. And it was real close to the bridge. It's almost straight down. So I got up on there, and I jumped down to jump on that box. Well, there was a nail sticking out on the bridge there, and it caught my pants leg, and it just turned me upside down. And so then my pants leg tore, and I dropped straight down on my head, you know, knocked me out, just cold as it could be. And so when I come to, my little sister, and she was in the first grade, my youngest one at that time, I come to, well, she had my head in her lap there, and my next sister had gone up to get the teacher, you know. So that was another kind of a traumatic thing. So then after that, though, and after my 6th grade, we between the 6th grade and the 7th grade, I had a lot of illness, you know, besides the nosebleed. But I had some kind of fever that I don't think the doctor ever figured out what it was, but I missed a whole year of school that year, and he determined what he thought it was drinking raw milk. That was before it was pasteurized, and of course we lived on a farm. It wouldn't have been pasteurized anyway. But we moved to town and to Canadian, and so I started school in the 7th grade in Canadian. Well, after missing a whole year of school, and it was not very, the teachers weren't all that great anyway, and I come from 6 grades with maybe 12 kids to one room with maybe 20 kids or 25 kids. Well, it was, it was kind of a bad experience there. But anyway, it was like I didn't know anything. And so I had, I was just failing all my classes. But I had these 2 teachers, one of them taught math and one taught English. And they were, they kind of took me under their wing, and they would take turns every day tutoring me after school. And so I got through the school year, and I passed, somehow. But then after that, after they tutored me all this time, I made it okay then through the rest of my school years. But when I got up to about I think I was a freshman, maybe a sophomore, but probably a freshman in high school, one of my classes was a general science class, and the teacher was he was also the yearbook guy that put the yearbook together for the school, and but the science class, part of the class was they had a little dark room, and he taught me how to develop film and print pictures, so that went on, and I really got into that, and I had a good friend that, and he was really into it too, so we both learned how to develop film and print pictures, and then they had a pretty nice camera. It was a 4x5 Crown Graphic camera that he taught me how to use the camera, So, and then I was the yearbook photographer then for the next couple of years, and I learned quite a bit from that. But then also my senior year, after school I worked part-time in a local studio that it was a small town, but we did have this studio there. But I worked there, and in the mornings before class, I would help my dad. My dad was a janitor at the high school, so I would help him in the mornings and then go to work at the studio in the evenings. And so during this time, I also set me up a little dark room at home. We had a little outbuilding, and of course there's no running water or anything, no heat or cool. It was just hot and cold. But anyway, that was where my dark room was, and I went around to we had a drugstore and the grocery stores, and some of them that took in film to be developed, and so I started doing film developing and printing for them, and I did that, for I think that was probably also my senior year, and anyway, I kind of got a little town, but I kind of got known around town that that I took pictures, and so I worked for the sheriff's department when they would need pictures done of crime scenes or car accidents and things like that, and I do that for the sheriff's department, but then also insurance companies. If there's a car wreck, well, the insurance company would have me take pictures of the car wreck and stuff. So I did all that, and I was still in high school. After going through working for the studio, and my friend that was really interested in photography too, and we during that senior year, and it might have started as a junior, but anyway, we both were really interested in photography, and so we took a correspondence course, both of us, from New York Institute of Photography, and they would send us a little lesson booklet, and we would study the booklet and then take a test on the booklet, and we always had a photo assignment to do, and so we would send in our test along with the photo assignment, the pictures, and they would critique it and send it back to us, and so we both did that. Then after we graduated, graduated high school, well, this local photographer that I worked for, he was ready to move on to bigger and better things, I guess. So he moved to Amarillo, and we bought his studio. Now I don't know how we bought it, but we ended up with it, and because we didn't have any money, but anyway, we got the studio, and in the meantime, before that, while I was working for him, this photographer had entered a contest, and a photo contest, and he won a real nice 4x5. It was a Crown Graphic camera, and so I bought that camera from him, and he didn't need the camera, but so I bought the camera, and so I had a real nice camera then, and so anyway, my friend and I we bought the studio, and this was in I graduated in 1950 from high school. And so along about that time, 50 or 51, somewhere right in there, I guess it's 50, when the Korean War broke out. And at that time, the draft was still going on. Well, we were draft age, so we were about to be drafted. And so we decided we'll just enlist, and we could enlist and get our choice of, Army, Navy, or Air Force, Marines, So we, the Air Force had the best schooling for photography. So we joined the Air Force and went through the basic training down at San Antonio. And so when after our basic training, well, then we could go to a school, Well, of course, we both wanted photography school, but there wasn't any openings for that at that time. So we had a choice, We could either take another field, like anything else, and change what we wanted to do, or we could wait for the photography school, or we could take a test, and if we could pass the test, then we could just go right on to the job without the school. So that's what I decided to do, is take the test, and I did, and they called it a bypass specialist test. So I took it, I passed the test, and I by then I had a pretty good background in photography. And my friend, though, he decided to wait for the school. He wanted to go to the photography school. So he stayed there at Lackland, waiting for the school, and it never did come about. So he ended up as an auto mechanic, and the odd thing about it was he went to the auto mechanic school in Okmulgee, Oklahoma. Where the OSU IT, at that time, I think it was called, I don't know what it's called, maybe OSU Tech or something. But anyway, he went to school here in Okmulgee, and he never did get his dream job as a photographer. But I went on to my next assignment. My next base was at Patrick Air Force Base in Florida, and that's at Cape Canaveral. So being a brand new serviceman, we were supposed to be at Patrick Air Force Base at a certain time. Another guy went with me. We were both going there, not in the same field, but anyway, we rode the train down there, and we got to New Orleans. We had a long layover there. Well, we wasn't going to be able to get to our base when we were supposed to. So, we thought, well, gosh, we're going to be AWOL now. and we'd be in really bad trouble. And so we sent a telegram to the base commander. I remember that. Of course, he probably never saw it, but anyway, so we went ahead and got there, and we got there on a Sunday, and the place was dead on Sunday, but they did have a officer of the day, and so we would report in to him. So he put us up in a transit barracks, and then he said the next day they would come and get us, somebody come and get us, and take us to where we need to go, So the next day come and nobody showed up. And so we stayed there, and that went on for about a week, and nobody showed up to come and get us. Well, Patrick Air Force Base is right on the beach. There's a little road that runs by the beach, and then the barracks is right over here. So we decided, well, let's just go to the beach, So we went to the beach, and that went on for about a month, and nobody ever come and got us. So finally, we were sleeping in one morning there at about 10 o'clock, and then they had a barracks inspection. Well, gosh, there we were, sound asleep. And but they woke us up right quick, and we were kind of in trouble a little bit. But anyway, they assigned me to this colonel and he, I was just his flunky, If he needed, some papers or something sent to some other office, I would take them there, and whatever he needed, I was his flunky. Anyway, so one day he called me in the office there, and had some papers or something for me to deliver, and I was kind of leaning over on his desk, and that didn't sit well with him, so he proceeded to chew me out real good, and then he asked me how long I've been in the service, and I don't know, by that time it's probably 3 months or so, and he said, well, how do you like it so far? I said, well, I don't like it much anymore. So I told him that I was supposed to come there to be a photographer, and so far I hadn't even seen the camera or nothing. So he said, well, let me see what I can do, So he got on the phone and he called the lab there, the photo lab, and so he sent me on over to the photo lab, and so I went there, and mostly I was developing film and printing pictures, and so that went on for a couple of months, and then there was an opening for an aerial photo school. So I decided, well, I'll apply for that. So I did, applied for it, and I got it. So I went to school up at Denver for the aerial photo, and then I come back, and I spent probably the next 2.5 years maybe there at Patrick Air Force Base, and we would do aerial mapping and that type of thing, And when they'd have, they didn't have moonshots or anything back then, but they were testing for it. They would lob these missiles out in the ocean, and we would photograph that. But then about a year before my time was up in the service, well, they transferred me to Eglin Air Force Base, still in Florida. But they did weapon testing, like missile testing and stuff. So my job there was from the aerial mapping and all, with the big aerial cameras to 16 millimeter movie cameras. But the back at Patrick Air Force Base, though, we flew mainly in old B-29s and prop planes, and they were refurbished to accommodate the aerial cameras, and those cameras were, oh my gosh, they probably weighed 80 pounds, and the film that they used was on it was a roll film, but the film size was 9 by 9 inches. It was big film, and but then after I moved to Eglin Air Force Base, I did I would photograph air to air. We would fly along. And we flew in fighter jets, and of course mine would be a two-seater, the pilot and me right behind the pilot, and then we'd fly alongside other airplanes, other jets that would fire missiles, and I'd photograph that. And anyway, that went on for the rest of my tour. We did this aerial mapping, and if we were flying at 10,000 feet or less, we would. I'd be in the back of the plane, and with this humongous camera, and it had a viewfinder that you alongside the camera, and you could look through this viewfinder and see what you're photographing down there, Well, to do the mapping, you'd take a picture. Well, the next picture has to overlap that one, and then the next one would overlap that one, So it's just a series of photographs that, and then the come back, well, the pilot would come back the other way, and then would photograph it moving over, like that. So in order to get the overlap right through this viewfinder, you would, and it had a couple of lines across there, and you would pick up a point, like it might be a building or a tree or something down there that you would, when it get on this line, you would take a picture, and then that, as you flew over it, that image would go down to the other line, and then you'd take another picture, and you'd look up there right quick to see the next tree or building or something and you would just follow it down, and then all of those pictures then will overlap each other, and once they're developed, then they can lay these out and make a big map of all of these pictures combined, like a big collage, That was interesting. I did the aerial stuff, and some of the pilots got to kind of knowing me a little bit, and so when they would go down to the Bahamas, and they'd bring back, some whiskey or rum or whatever. So, but they couldn't just go down there to get that. That wouldn't never be approved. So the excuse was that we would go down and in a seaplane and photograph water landing areas for the seaplanes, and would go to Haiti and Dominican Republic and all down through there on these whiskey runs. And we went to, I remember one time we went to Haiti, and we spent the night there. And next morning we got up to leave. Well, we found a little Haitian kid was stowed away in the airplane. And so we didn't know, or the pilots didn't know what he had done, so they took the plane out and flew it around a little bit to make sure it was not damaged or anything. But the kid didn't get to go to America. But then another time we flew down to Puerto Rico, and we had don't remember what type of plane we were in, but it was, I don't think it was a seaplane, but we lost an engine going down, and so we had to stay there. Well, the crew, that's me and I don't know, there's about 3 or 4 of us that we got down there, but we hadn't planned on staying, so we probably gonna come back the same day or the next day at least. We got down there and we didn't have any money, and so they had a Navy base there on Puerto Rico. So we spent about a week there in San Juan, and we'd sleep on the Navy base and eat and all. But that was kind of an interesting time. And then they got a new engine sent down, and with mechanics to put it in and all, and then we got all back to the States again. But those were kind of interesting trips, We'd just go down for a day or two and come back, and all those little islands down through the Caribbean, we would go to those little islands, and the pilots kind of got to know some of the people there, and it was kind of fun. And the little kids, naked. Yeah, the little kids were, they run around naked. Of course, I didn't have any room to talk because I did that too. when I was a little bitty one. But yeah, that was kind of fun times. I look back at my time in the military, and anybody that's in the service, they're ready to get out about the next day after they get in. But I look back now, and those were some good times that I had back then. and but you don't realize it at the time, with just the when I was there at Patrick Air Force Base, and if I wasn't flying and they had a launch, I would be out there at the launch site. They had these cameras they call Fastex cameras that would actually photograph the liftoff and all, and they would go like 7,000 frames a second or something. It would stop a bullet, But the way they could get that speed, you can't do that with a mechanical shutter because it just won't go that fast. But to get that speed, it was shot with the camera had a prism in it that the prism would turn and take a picture every time, and it would. You could get up to, I think it was 7,000 frames a second. It's just like like that, And then they could study the liftoff and all. So after serving my time there at Eglin Air Force, then I was discharged in 1955. And then I got a job in Wichita, Kansas as in an electric power plant, power generating station. And I was there for a couple of years, hating every minute of it because it wasn't my dream job. So after a couple of years, I quit my job and come back to Canadian Texas, and I opened up a little studio there in Canadian, and with bare minimum of equipment, but I could take pictures and develop the film and all. Well, and at that time, I probably hadn't been there over 2 or 3 months till I met Novella. Well, things changed from then on. Anyway, and after just a short time, I guess we hit it off pretty well because we got married after about 3 months. And I guess it did pretty well. We're still married. But anyway, when I married Novella, well, of course, she come right into the studio to help me, and she learned to do the film retouching and oil coloring. We didn't have color film at that time. By then, it was 1957 when we got married, but we didn't have color film. So, but we did have oil colored portraits. Well, Novella learned how to do the oil coloring, and what little I knew, which was very little about that, but I had the colors and all. I had the equipment, but she started doing the oil coloring, and so after along about then, well, after I don't know, about a year or so, our daughter come along, Twyla. We were not doing too well financially. In fact, we weren't doing very good at all. But so we decided to move, and Novella's parents lived in Tulsa at the time. So we decided, well, we'll just move to Tulsa. And we got a little house in Tulsa, and went there and lived there, and I got a job at selling cameras at it was a discount store, it was called American Distributors, and I was selling cameras and kind of in my field, but not much. But then I decided after a while there, and then we had a son. He was born while we were there in Tulsa, and so anyway, I applied for a job out at OSU, Okmulgee, and I got that job as a public relations photographer. And when we moved to Okmulgee, our son Ronnie, he was like 6 months old, and Twyla was like a year and a half old. So we had two babies, but we rented a little house here in town, and we worked. In fact, I worked at OSU for 10 years. But in the meantime, during that 10 years, we were building up a photography business, and that was in 1960 that we moved to Okmulgee, and but I was doing weddings and things like that all along the time. But when we in '63 we bought a big old house on North Grand, 805 North Grand, here in Okmulgee, and it was a two-story house. And we had a basement, so it was ideal. We had a camera room, a good-sized room, which was the living room, but and then the basement was our dark rooms and labs. So that worked out real well there, and but I continued working at OSU for till 1970. I finally quit. By then we had built up a pretty good business, and with Novella doing she was running the studio during the daytime, and at night and weekends, she'd make appointments all week, and I would do the shooting all on the weekends and in the evenings. So, and I was kind of burning the candles at both ends, and I kind of it kind of got the best of me. Anyway, I was sick for a while, and I had to quit something, So I quit my job at OSU, and we went full time into the studio. Well, we stayed there in the house for till had a studio in the house till '75, and then we moved downtown to 211 South Morton, and we were there in that location for about 10 years. And in the meantime, though, we had built up a pretty good business. We did schools and weddings. I did gobs of weddings back then, and every weekend we would have 3 or 4 weddings, and some days I have had as many as 3 weddings in one day, and but it's tough, you know, and but we were doing okay. We were doing good. So we were in that South Morton location till '85, and we bought a what used to be it's called Mistletoe Express. It was a little freight company that worked out of Oklahoma City to Tulsa, and they had an office there, and on 8th and Delaware, 501 East 8th, and but it was too small. We had to build on, and we doubled the size of the building, and so we opened up that studio in 1985, and we had a 1-hour lab and studio, and did our. And by then we were doing color. We had a color lab. It was all color by then, and the developer and the chemicals and all that you used to do that with, it didn't come packaged. You had to mix up your own, you know, and I had a little scales, you know, that I would measure up so much of this and dissolve it, and then measure up so much other stuff. And anyway, eventually, though, Kodak come with prepackaged developer and fixer and those things. And but it was, you know, really interesting. It back in those days, it was so much different than what it is now with the digital. In probably digital is probably better, you know, but it wasn't as much fun, I don't think. You know, you know, back then when you took a picture, you don't know what you got until you developed it and made the prints and all that. Well, now you take a picture, well, you look on the back of the camera and there it is, you know, and it's just so different. But it's in a way it's better, you know. It's a lot better than after all of those years in the darkroom and developing film and all. I was kind of glad to be out of the darkroom. You know, I didn't have to go in the darkroom to develop the film to see what I got. You know, it's all right there. Well, back during the time we were doing the print competition and all, well, I become president of the Oklahoma Association, Photographers Association, and then the next year or so, Novella and I got the National Award for service to the Photographers Association of America award, which is a due award between the two of us, between Novella and I. And but I was also on the board of the Southwest Association for several years there. So back in during the time we were still in our home studio, well, I become real interested in the photography associations. I would enter prints in the competition, and and we were members of the Oklahoma Professional Photographers Association and the Southwest, which is 5 states. It's Oklahoma, Arkansas, New Mexico, and Texas. And I don't know, Missouri maybe. Anyway, it was 5 states in this association. And we belonged to the Oklahoma Association, and and they had at the convention every year they would have print competition, and we would take pictures and enter them in the competition, and so I got into that pretty good, and we during this time the Professional Photographers of America, we joined that, and we and through that their print competition would be working toward a Master of Photography degree, which the degree you had to have 25 merits, and each picture that you hung in national competition, and the competition is really tough at that level, but you had to have 25 merits to become a master, and out of those 25 merits, 13 of them had to be from prints that you had entered, and the other 12 merits could be from speaking engagements, like at conventions, and or judging like state competition. So it took me a few years to get that, but I finally become a Master of Photography, and that was about 1980, something like that. And then the next degree is craftsman photography. Well, the craftsman photography is all speaking engagements or print judging. So after a couple of years, well, I got that one, and we went along with that, and our of course our family grew up, and in 97, I guess it was, my son passed away, which really hit us hard, and so we lived out in the country at that time, and we decided, well, we'll sell the studio and retire. By then I was 65, and so we did. We sold the studio, and we carried the note And so they were there for about 4 years when they decided they couldn't make it anymore. So we got it back. We'd carried the note, so we got the business back. Well, by then, after those 4 years, the building had deteriorated so much we had to go in. The plan was to go in and remodel the building, get it all cleaned up, fixed up, and sell it. Well, and we had all of the wet lab equipment in there and everything. So we decided to sell all of that equipment. And during the time though we were retired, those 4 years, well, digital photography come along, and we were not going to studio every day, but we were still interested in photography. So I bought a digital camera, which it was one of the first ones out, I think. And in the meantime, Novella was really, she had learned Photoshop real well during that 4 years. It was a learning experience actually for both of us. And so when we got the studio back, we didn't think about going back into business again until we got the studio all fixed up, cleaned up, remodeled, and everything. And then it looked so good, and we had spent quite a bit of money on the remodeling. So we decided, well, let's just run it for a year and then sell it, kind of recoup some of our money. So we started our year. 22 years later, we were still there. But anyway, that was probably one of our better moves that we did, was go back into business after being retired for that length of time. You don't go in with the idea that, if this don't work, we can do something else. You go in with the idea and the plan that it is going to work, and you don't ever let that go. But and the same way with our marriage, we went into our marriage. We didn't think, well, if this don't work, we'll just get divorced and do something else, Well, when we got married, it was for life. And the same way with our businesses, there's some of the, we've done some stuff that didn't work out real well, and some stuff that was a total flop. But like I think one of my worst flops was I decided, and of course this is during the time we were had our studio going, well, in our house, or early in the 60s probably. I decided, well, I want to raise chinchillas, Well, God, I bought cages, and they're so cute, that I just had to have some of those chinchillas. But my problem was that, you raise chinchillas to sell the skins. Well, I had a hard time killing those little things. And so that business flopped totally. But they're really cute little animals, like a rabbit, only a little smaller. And anyway, I spent a bunch of money on that and lost it. And then also we had a 1 hour lab when we moved to our 501 East 8th Street location. We put in a 1 hour lab, and we were doing really well on that 1 hour lab. And then Walmart come along, and we didn't do so well then. They were doing it cheaper than we could do it, and we finally just closed it up, the lab part. But those were a couple of failures that cost us a lot of money. And I know that equipment for the 1 hour lab, it cost $50,000, and we run it for about 4 or 5 years, and sold it for $2,500. So that was a big hit. But anyway, that's all water under the bridge. We survived it, and we're still here going. So throughout all the years that we were doing it, we took, gosh, it seemed like everybody in the county, we took their picture, but at one time or the other. But we could never go anywhere without people knowing us. I would forget their faces and their names, but they seemed to know us, and by doing I did schools for years and years there, and we had several schools that I did. Well, I'd go into Walmart, and a mother with a little 6-year-old would be in the store, and the little kid would run up and grab my leg, and the mother didn't know me from Adam, and so that was kind of interesting, that things like that would happen. But I guess all of the pictures in the homes and the happy times like weddings and birthdays and things that I photographed would be kind of my legacy, I guess, that were after we got the studio all cleaned up and fixed up and come back to work there, we sold the studio, and we had been in business in Okmulgee at that time. At the time we retired, for 59 years. We started in '63 and retired in 2022. And we, during that time, all this time, we had lived in, we bought 3 different houses in Okmulgee. The one on Grand where we started the business, and we lived out in the country for about 20 years, I guess. And then we moved back to town and sold our place in the country. and we're still going strong, both of us, my novella and I. But I've just been really fortunate to have a partner like her. It's I would have never made it like that if it hadn't have been for her. In fact, I don't we don't have a studio anymore, and my eyesight has gotten bad, but I still have I still do sports pictures with the help of Tristan and Twyla and the whole family. We still do the sports for the Y, and I did the tech graduations for, goodness, I don't know how many years, and I finally stopped that because of my eyesight. And I guess I would still be going if I could see a little better. But after all, I'm only 95, so, I figure I've got another 5 or 6 years. And I was really fortunate to be able to do all of that, my early childhood and all, which we were, we grew up being really, really poor. And we lived on the farm and we had cows and stuff, but and we grew our food, and I just feel like we were really lucky to have parents that were good Christian people. And they, I feel like they brought us up like we should have been. And I don't know. It's just, I just feel blessed.